What is up, family? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be learning the truth about one-arm handstand training by a professional handstand coach, how hard it actually is in comparison to a two-arm handstand, what it takes to get there,
and how to actually get there.
Let's find out. How hard it is a one-arm handstand in comparison to a two-arm handstand?
It's very different. It's like comparing a tuck plunge to a full plunge. It's a completely different world, and I think that many in calisthenics, they are not recognizing it. So they think that one-arm handstand is just one of the other skills that they are spending like 10-15 minutes on doing 3-4 times per week.
Okay.
While hand balancing it's a big world. It's the same as calisthenics in itself. And that, I think, is one of the reasons why many people who are into calisthenics and are curious on one arm makes a mistake, because they are trying to do something that looks like a one-arm handstand instead of actually realizing that it's a big world with many different steps that requires good flexibility, mobility, good endurance, good understanding of your body upside down on two arms. Back to your question, how much difficult it is. It's many times as difficult, because on two arms you only have to deal with folding that way or that way. When you take away one arm, you can fold in every direction. So it's not just that you are being twice as heavy for your shoulder, but it's actually many more things that can go wrong and that will go wrong. So 10-15 times as complicated.
That's what I've heard, around 10 to 15. Yeah. What are the signs that people experience, or what people encounter that doesn't allow them to be a one-arm handstander or to achieve the one-arm handstand?
Yeah. The first thing is not realizing what goes into it. Back to the calisthenics hand balancing thing. Hand balancing is a broad, or it's a narrow theme, but has many broad aspects in it.
Yes.
So in order to get towards it, makes sense to train towards one arm, you better have a damn good two-arm handstand. Not just in straight, not just nailing all the kick-ups, but also being able to do the tucks, the sevens, moving into different shapes, have a good split, and presses and all that stuff. That's the prep for even starting towards a one arm. And it's a good starting point to view yourself as somebody who is a hand balancer or who takes it as serious as other training. That means that you're dedicating 4 or 5 sessions a week for 1.5 to 2.5 hours every session.
Yeah, and which is not what most people do, especially in the calisthenics world. We tend to do this 15 to 20 minutes prior to our session.
Yeah, and then you either like, oh, I'll do this for 10 minutes, try and lift one arm, and then I'll do planche work for 30 minutes, and I do front lever for 50, like just one of those things. No, when you're a hand balancer, you work on your straight handstand for 15 minutes, you work on your tuck handstand for 20 minutes, you work on your side split for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
just like in planche, we do the holds for 15 minutes, we do the bent arm work for 15 minutes, then we do the basic for 15 minutes, and we do the accessory work for 15 minutes.
Yes. Suddenly there's 3 weeks where you have skipped the wall exercises, or you have skipped some components of the training, or you got sick or whatever. That's like, most people think they are dedicated because they are training 4 or 5 times per week, but they don't think in their head those periods where they're not training so hard. And that is usually what makes or breaks the progress. It usually breaks your motivation and inspiration. And then
they just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also having the ability to push through when it's heavy, not coming down when they feel like they want to come down, and all that kind of stuff that goes into the mental aspect of it.
How would you assess progress to make sure that people are in the right direction?
You're trying to standardize as much of your training as possible.
Okay, that's
so you're trying to have the same time warm up, the same time and goals for as much as you can.
Okay.
You are dealing with balance, so there are factors of random, but you want to standardize and you want to have the majority of the training that you're doing should have a relatively high consistency. So if you are, for example, starting to develop a freestanding straight handstand, and you end up kicking and falling, kicking and falling, kicking and falling, like 8 out of 10 times you fall, then you need to do a regression where you have higher success. And that's how you can ensure that your progress will be a bit more certain.
What's the biggest mistake people do when starting one-arm handstand training?
Back to when I started, I said that it's a kind of a different world being a hand balancer, and doing a one arm is a much more complicated skill than many believe when they see it. It's very technical, and that it has a lot of prerequisites that it makes sense to do before it makes sense to go there, and that's something people not always recognize. So maybe they have some confidence on two arms. The shape is maybe not too good, but they can do some handstand push-ups, and that gives them the understanding of I'm good at handstands. While in reality, that means that they're very strong in the calisthenics skills of doing handstand bent arm and maybe also straight arm, but they don't have that ability up there, and they don't realize it. So what they do is often they go into a little straddle, and then they try to go to one arm, and they fall. And they do that 10-15 times, 4 times per week, and they think they're training one-arm handstand. While in reality, what they're doing is they are falling. They're falling. They don't get time in a position that's relevant for them to learn from. So instead of thinking about it as they are trying to replicate how a one-arm handstand look, it would be better to take a few steps back and improve their basics on two arms to get a better understanding of your body position, your hip position and shoulder position before taking the steps of going to fingertips, staying there for a very long time, 15-20 seconds, before you take the next step, straight arm support, and then balancing from there. So breaking the skill down into steps that makes sense for the ability that you currently have, that's what I would suggest to do. And that takes a lot more time, work, and
people think.
Yeah, and dedication. So when I tell people that you would probably be better off training 4 to 5 times per week, up to like 2 hours per session, doing this, they're like, no, I'll just continue to do this and fall. Like, okay, I tried.
That wasn't me. I joined the club.
Yeah, you joined. You know what it is. You know what I'm talking about.
I know the effort that goes into it. So, you mentioned something about calisthenics people, especially.
Yep.
That you've seen it more in that camp.
Yep.
Why?
I see calisthenics and CrossFit people being crazy strong, and they are prone to intensity. They like stuff that makes them feel like a brutal beast, you know?
Okay.
And that makes them want to do more of the power skills, which also makes them usually have more prone to being stiff in their shoulders, and also not being able to take it back to doing things that they don't think is very fun. Because stretching, for somebody who are prone to do handstand push-ups, it's not something that many of them take the time to actually take seriously.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hating a little bit on calisthenics and CrossFit. Because
pure love.
but that's because also I've had hundreds of people come to me in a training, especially if I'm training at a new gym, who come from calisthenics and they are asking me, can you look at my one-arm handstand and give me some advice? And then I spend 30 minutes on them to show them how to do a straight, how to do a tuck, and then they never do that stuff again because it's so fucking boring. Even though I have explained to them exactly what I'm explaining to you guys now, even though I have spent 30 to 50 minutes of my training time to show them exactly how to do it, how they're making the mistakes, they don't have the discipline or interest in actually doing the proper training. That's why I'm a little bit aggressive towards that group.
What are your prerequisites for me to start doing one-arm handstand?
Beautiful question. I would first like to see you do a two-arm handstand, because what people coming up to me, they think they have a decent handstand. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes they are failing 5 kick-ups in a row before they can hold a banana for 20 seconds. Show me that you can enter a handstand 3 times in a row.
So kick-up consistency is a big one.
Kick-up or jump-up or whatever. Get into handstand 3 times in a row.
Okay.
And then I'm going to look at your shape, see how you're making adjustments. If you are now doing this when you're holding a handstand, like making big adjustments with your elbow and your shoulders, that's a big red flag. And if you need to do all of this stuff here.
So planche and then go back to straight.
How you're making adjustments is what I'm looking for.
How big the adjustments are, okay.
Exactly, how precise they are. The better you are at handstands, the more it looks like you're standing completely still. The smaller the balancing becomes. So I'm looking at that, and then also the shape in itself. And then I want to see that you're doing some tuck. First a tuck hold. If you can do that without planching your shoulders, that's a prereq. A tuck is very easy compared to everything on one arm. And for many people are stiff shoulders, tuck is very difficult.
It is very difficult for many people.
So I'm judging tuck, and then other shapes are more heavy than a tuck, like 7 work.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at the ability to shift leg position without changing the shoulder position. So this should stay completely still while you are going from straight to straddle to tuck to all those basic shapes.
So just that?
No, I'm
continuing. Okay, keep on.
Having some press ability without needing to plunge too much or bending your elbows.
How much press ability? Pikes, straddle?
Straddle press. If you can do a couple straddle presses, then you have enough of the strength in that leaned over angle to make some pretty good adjustments there, and that's helpful.
Okay.
So all of this combined, I'm judging before I would tell somebody if it makes sense to start to go work on fingertip support or not.
Okay.
But like 1 to 1.5 minutes straight, I think is a good time to reach in a casual way. Like you're able to do 1 minute every time you want to do it.
Okay.
And moving into those shapes.
I had all that and more, and it's been, what, a year? Good year? Yeah. Like 1 year, I'm still battling for my first 5 seconds. So get your foundation right. How does a typical week look like for somebody that is training the one-arm handstand?
Most of my clients who works towards a one-arm, they're training 4 or 5 times per week. And they usually have 2 different programs, or a program that they are very similar, but they have some changes in the conditioning, for example. And they're training usually between 1.5 to 2 hours per session. That's the amount of time that it takes to do the sessions.
Counting warm-up or not?
Yeah, everything.
Everything,
Yeah.
Okay.
And then depending on, at this level, they usually have their own flexibility routine that they start the session with. Because the more advanced you become as a handstander, the more important lower body flexibility becomes.
100%.
When you have a good split, your center of mass comes lower to the floor, and that makes it much easier to balance. And when you have good hamstrings, you can do a good 7 and that stuff. So I suggest that people create a good flexibility routine to warm up, because you're going to use that flexibility with your legs when you're actually training.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna conclude with final advice for someone that really want to embark on this terrifying journey that is the one-arm handstand. It's rewarding, but
if you are very into wanting a one-arm handstand, then the first thing is to realize what goes into what you want. Everybody wants something that's flashy, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to get that flashy thing. And that's what we try to do that in this YouTube. Try to explain that one-arm handstand, it's more complicated than many people gives it credit to. That is number one. Realize what it takes. And then I seriously would suggest guidance, either a coach or some sort of system that helps you to get information. I would not have gotten anywhere without me spending 3 to 4 years with my coach. That is something that I'm super happy that I did. And I'm not just saying it because I make a living out of teaching people how to do handstands, but it's the opposite way around. I do this for a living because I know how much impact that had on me, how much that changed my life, and how thankful and glad that I am that I did it.
And I can say it as a coach. I will say, like, coach need coaches, and if we need coaches, like normal people too. And again, I also sell an app, like this is not for that, but I still do believe that online coaching or whatever source of information is the fastest, most efficient, and most enjoyable also way to get to point A to point B. And that will always be the case. If you're asking fitness advice, business advice, whatever relationship advice, it's going to be the fastest way to get there.
Yeah. So with those 2 advice, you get a long way. So realizing what you're signing up for, and then having guidance to take you there.
Okay.
And then it will be to have a good fundament of 2-arm handstand.
Okay.
And have those things I mentioned earlier. Have a good 1 minute freestanding handstand with decent form and decent consistency, being able to do tuck without much effort, and also work on 7s, and then work on being able to move your legs around without needing to do big adjustments with your shoulders. That will be a good prereqs before we start to work on fingertip supports.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What does life mean to you?
What does life mean to me?
Yeah.
It means that I'm not dead.
I love it. That's it. You want to add anything else to that?
I'm not very spiritual of me. I like stuff that is very concrete. So
that's not a spiritual. You can call it very psychological.
okay, that means I'm not dead.
Okay, that means you're dead. Fucking love it. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you for having me, Gabo.
You rock. And thank you guys for being here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, subscribe. Comment down below what else would you like to see, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.